Welcome back. Today we are going deep, and I mean really deep, into the engine room of the human body, the mitochondria.
That's right.
You've given us a huge stack of research, and we're going to pull out every single actionable insight. We're not talking basic high school biology here.
No, not at all.
We're diving into the nitty-gritty, the mechanics of cellular energy, and how everything you do, what you eat, how you move, either builds up or, well, breaks down your fundamental power supply.
It's so true. When you really look across all the literature, one central idea just keeps coming up, and it's a powerful one. Mitochondrial function is pretty much at the root of all health and all disease.
And so today, our mission is to give you that shortcut. We want to deliver those surprising, those aha moments.
Yeah.
The kind of knowledge that helps you maintain that cellular energy, not just for feeling strong today, but for long-term cognitive sharpness and, maximizing your longevity down the line.
And to start, we really have to clear the decks. We have to debunk a really stubborn piece of sort of holiday folklore.
The notorious tryptophan turkey myth.
Exactly.
The idea that turkey makes you sleepy because it's packed with tryptophan, which then magically turns into melatonin and puts you in a post-meal coma on the couch.
It's a myth that just refuses to die, and it fundamentally misunderstands basic biochemistry.
Okay, so let's break it down.
First, the facts. Turkey. It's not actually that high in tryptophan. If you want high tryptophan, you look at something like whey protein. That has more.
Whey protein, really?
Yes. And second, and this is the crucial part, just eating tryptophan doesn't automatically make you sleepy. I mean, think about it. If it were some kind of fast-acting sedative, nobody would ever eat a turkey sandwich for lunch.
Right, you'd be asleep at your desk. So if it's not the tryptophan, why are so many of us absolutely flattened after a big meal? Especially, around the holidays.
Well, where did the idea come from? It was basically a simple, sticky story made up by journalists in the 80s. They needed a quick explanation for something that's actually a complex physiological event.
So what's the real reason?
It's much, much simpler. You just gorged yourself.
You ate too much.
You ate too much. Overeating triggers this massive shift in your body's operating system.
You're talking about the parasympathetic nervous system, the whole rest and digest thing.
Exactly. When you eat a huge meal, your body has to redirect a ton of resources. Blood flow, energy, focus straight to your gut to handle that massive digestive load.
It's all hands on deck for digestion.
It is. Your body goes into this automatic, mandatory rest state. It's like the lion after a successful hunt. Alert when hungry, completely asleep after the feast. You're conserving energy because the immediate task is done.
And that idea, conserving energy for critical functions, that's a perfect bridge to understanding sleep itself. We talk about the brain, but the real metabolic reason we need deep sleep is tied right to the mitochondria.
It is, 100%. We need deep sleep primarily to give those little power plants a rest. Mitochondria are running non-stop, producing all the ATP for every single thing we do.
Muscle contractions, thoughts, everything.
Everything. Repair, hormones, and during the day, they build up a lot of metabolic fatigue, a lot of oxidative stress.
They get dirty, basically.
That's a great way to put it. They get dirty. And during deep sleep, your metabolic rate just plummets, which lets the mitochondria turn the production volume way down.
And that downtime is for cleaning house.
Exactly. Internal cleaning, repairing their own membranes, clearing out waste. They're recharging the cellular batteries. If you mess with that, you start the next day with a half-charged power plant.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So if the mitochondria are the power plants making the ATP, what's the power grid, the thing that distributes it?
Yeah.
And this is where, surprisingly, creatine comes in.
Yes.
We always think of creatine as just a muscle-building supplement.
And that view is just massively outdated. Creatine is the high-speed distribution network for ATP. And the creatine system is in almost every cell in the body, not just muscle.
So give me an example.
Well, think of a really high-demand task, like pumping stomach acid. That's incredibly energy-intensive and it happens fast. Or sperm motility, the complex movement for a sperm to swim. Creatine is making sure that energy gets where it's needed right when it's needed.
That broad function is what makes the research on creatine and cognition so interesting, especially under stress, like sleep deprivation.
Oh, that study was fascinating. They kept healthy people awake all night long, just metabolically stressing them out.
Right.
The ones who were given a high acute dose, 20 grams of creatine, they performed way better on complex brain puzzles than the placebo group. And crucially, they also said they felt much less tired.
So the creatine wasn't replacing sleep. It was more like upgrading the brain's wiring to handle the energy crisis better.
That's it, exactly. It increased the system's ability to distribute the ATP that was still available, even under duress. It just pushes the whole system to run longer and more efficiently.
And that same mechanism, that explains the findings on healing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The big one was a long-term trial using 20 grams of creatine for 6 months. It doubled the rate of healing from a traumatic brain injury.
A TBI. That's huge.
Yeah.
How can a simple supplement do that?
A traumatic brain injury is, at its core, an acute energy crisis. The brain needs enormous amounts of ATP right now for inflammation and repair.
So you're just flooding the system with a delivery truck.
Perfect analogy. You're flooding the system with creatine, making sure that every bit of energy the mitochondria can produce gets shuttled directly to the site of damage as fast as possible. It's targeted crisis management.
So for the listener who wants to optimize this, what's a realistic food-first target for creatine?
To get to those optimal levels without a supplement, you'd need to be eating between 1 and 2 pounds of meat per day.
A day.
Per day. And you'd want to favor red meat and red fish, like salmon. The creatine is highest in that red muscle tissue.
That's a pretty big commitment.
It is. And for anyone on a vegan diet, it's pretty much impossible from food alone. You'd be trying to eat like half a kilo of tofu and half a kilo of quinoa every single day.
So for vegetarians and vegans, supplementation is almost a must.
In that case, I'd say it's very strongly recommended to maintain optimal cellular energy.
Okay, let's shift gears from fuel to light.
Right.
Because light is probably the most fundamental input for energy. We hear a lot about red light therapy, but how does it actually mechanically affect the mitochondria?
Red and near-infrared light, RNIR, these specific wavelengths can actually penetrate your skin and they get absorbed directly inside the mitochondrial engines.
Okay.
And it does two really critical jobs. First, it helps break this inhibitory bond that nitric oxide can form on a key enzyme, which immediately boosts ATP output. And second, and this is really fascinating, the light helps to order the water structure inside the mitochondria.
Ordered water. That sounds a little abstract.
It does, but think of it this way. Water inside your cells isn't just a random liquid. It's highly structured, almost like a crystal, especially near the mitochondrial membranes.
Okay.
And this structured water acts like a high-speed rail for protons and electrons during energy creation. The RNIR light helps organize that structure, making the whole process way more efficient.
And the power of this is systemic, right? I was blown away by that study where they blasted red light on someone's chest.
While shielding their eyes.
Right. And their eyesight still improved the next day.
That's the proof. The benefit isn't just local. You're improving systemic mitochondrial energy production.
Right.
And those benefits then cascade to other high-demand tissues, like your retina. It coordinates metabolism across the whole body.
Speaking of eyes, let's connect back to the food-first approach for vision.
So we're talking about lutein and zeaxanthin. These are carotenoids that are known to build up in the macula of your eye.
And they protect it.
They protect it against blue light, against oxidative stress. And the absolute best source where absorption is just optimized is egg yolks.
Why egg yolks specifically?
Because you need the fat that's in the yolk to actually absorb them. And even better are eggs from chickens that have been fed marigolds, because marigolds are naturally packed with these compounds.
This is where food sourcing really matters.
It's the pragmatic application of that food-first principle.
Okay, let's touch on another big supplement, glutathione. If our body makes it, do we need to supplement? And if we do, what's the best form?
Well, the glutathione your body makes from the protein you eat is always going to be superior. Always. When you do supplement, you just have to be pragmatic.
Economics versus benefit.
Exactly. Straight up, reduced glutathione is generally the way to go over the expensive, specialized forms like liposomal.
Because of the price.
Yes. The studies might show a tiny marginal increase in absorption with liposomal, maybe 10 to 20% higher, but that almost never justifies paying 3 times the price.
Got it. And before we move on, let's just nail down the master signal for energy sunlight. Beyond vitamin D, what are we missing if we just pop a pill?
Sunlight is the master conductor of your entire mitochondrial metabolism. You need about 30 minutes of morning light without sunglasses to signal your brain to start that wake-up sequence for the day.
It's a timing signal.
It's a fundamental timing and signaling mechanism. And yeah, you get vitamin D from 10 to 15 minutes of afternoon sun, but all those other organizing benefits of full-spectrum light, you miss all of that with a pill.
All right, now we have to face, well, the inevitable, the data on the aging tax. What happens to our power plants as we get older?
This is the grim baseline. On average, you start losing about 1% of your mitochondrial function every single year, starting around age 18.
Every year.
Every year. So if you live to be 70 or 80, you've likely lost about half of your starting energy production capacity. That is the biological aging tax we all pay.
That sounds completely fixed, like there's nothing you can do. But the research showed a huge caveat.
A huge one, absolutely. The really encouraging data shows that your age only explains about 25% of the difference in mitochondrial function between people.
Only 25%.
Which means a massive 75% is under your control. Lifestyle, diet, training. The goal is to maximize your baseline function now, so when that tax starts, you have a much higher place to fall from, and you can slow the decline.
And it's not just getting older that speeds this up. Physical injuries take a huge toll.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the injury tax.
Right. So when you get hurt, a broken bone, a concussion, even just chronic, severe overtraining, your mitochondria have to divert all their resources to immediate tissue healing.
The focus on the emergency.
Exactly. And to do that, they essentially have to cannibalize the machinery they need to repair their own internal structures.
They're starving themselves to feed the patient, so to speak.
That's a perfect way to put it. This just accelerates that baseline 1% annual decline. So you might feel 100% recovered from your injury, but metabolically, you are 100% with the tax of having recovered.
That deficit remains. Wow. This brings us to maybe the most surprising thing in this whole deep dive. This study on athletes' lifespans. We all assume that amazing cardio fitness means a long life.
We do, but the data just powerfully contradicted that. They looked at pro athletes and cyclists who have some of the highest V2 max scores ever recorded, the definition of cardio fitness. They only gained about 2 years on the general population's lifespan.
Only 2 years. That is shockingly low for that level of dedication.
Now compare that to gymnasts and pole vaulters. They gained a whopping 8 years.
8 years.
8. And this forced researchers to really rethink what drives longevity. It's not just about how much oxygen you can consume.
So if it's not just cardio, what's the magic ingredient that gives gymnasts that 8-year advantage?
It's functional mechanical activity. It's coordination, explosive movement, agility, balance. It's skill-based training that requires constant neurological engagement.
A brain-body connection.
A constant, complex communication loop. It forces your nervous system and muscular system to be agile, responsive, coordinated. And maintaining that functional capacity seems to be the highest predictor of a long, high-quality life.
Which gives us a clear action item.
Yeah.
Get out of your routine. You need to seek out skills you don't have.
Absolutely. The highest value comes from finding out what functions you've lost. Try a new skill every year. BJJ, boxing, learn to juggle, whatever. And pay attention to what feels hard.
Right.
If you find you get dizzy when you shift your weight quickly or you can't rotate without pain, that's your body giving you a signal. It's telling you what you need to work on to shore up your foundation.
Let's shift to specialized interventions and the risks. Starting with a controversial one, methylene blue.
Methylene blue, or MBA. It's often talked about like a miracle drug for mitochondria, but you have to be really cautious. It's what's called a non-specific redox cycler. Meaning, if CoQ10 is the main ferry crossing the river, MB is like setting up a bunch of shady taxis offering random detours. It only really helps if there's an actual blockage and inhibitor on that main path.
So if the road is clear and you introduce these detours,
You introduce random chaos, you start diverting electrons all over the place, and often instead of making more ATP, you actually decrease it. You've slowed the system down.
but so many people rave about it.
They do, because at doses around 10 milligrams a day, it acts as a potent MAO inhibitor. It gives you a strong antidepressant effect that has nothing to do with mitochondrial health. People feel better, but for the wrong reason.
So this is one of those things where you really need to test first.
You absolutely should test first to see if a blockage actually exists. For the average healthy person, it's probably doing more harm than good.
Okay, what about a more foundational supplement, CoQ10? It's essential, but the source is warned about overdosing. How can you have too much of a good thing?
CoQ10 is that main ferry. It's essential. But if you take too much, say 400 milligrams or more, you overload the system. You create a metabolic traffic jam.
A car crash in the mitochondria.
A car crash in the mitochondria is right. You get this backup of electrons that creates massive oxidative stress.
And what does that look like in the body? What are the results?
For the average person, it actually results in worse health markers. We see documented increases in blood pressure, higher glucose, higher insulin. The sweet spot for supplementing is usually between 100 and 200 milligrams. And remember, the best source is heart beef heart, chicken hearts.
Finally, we have to tackle the seed oil controversy. So much noise out there. What's the core mitochondrial problem with high PUFA seed oils?
The essential problem isn't that they cause immediate damage. The problem is they make your tissues much more vulnerable to future damage.
How so?
Your cell membranes are built from the fats you eat. When you eat a ton of these polyunsaturated fats, or PUFAs, you incorporate them into your tissues over a long period of time.
And this is a long-term thing. You won't see it in a short study.
Exactly. It takes about 4 years for your tissues to fully reflect the fatty acid composition of your diet. That's why those short 7 to 12-week trials are totally useless for judging safety.
And when you look at the long-term data, the stuff that was buried,
The long-term trials, like the Minnesota Coronary Survey from the 50s and 60s, showed really alarming results. When they switched people to high PUFA oils to lower cholesterol, it was associated with an increased cancer risk, and critically, it doubled the rate of atherosclerosis they found in the autopsies.
doubled. Wow. So how does that vulnerability actually drive the plaque formation?
The PUFAs on the outside of your LDL particles are really susceptible to oxidation. They go rancid, basically. Your immune system sees this damaged, rancid fat as a toxin.
Something it needs to contain.
Exactly. And so to contain it, it sequesters that particle by creating a little inflammatory pocket, and that is what drives the formation of atherosclerotic plaque. It's an immune response to a damaged fat.
And you can't talk about cholesterol without talking about statins. What's their impact on the very mitochondrial engines we're trying to protect?
Statins are, from a mitochondrial perspective, completely counterproductive. They inhibit your body's ability to make cholesterol, but they also inhibit the synthesis of CoQ10, which uses the same pathway.
So you're damaging the main ferry system.
You are damaging a fundamental part of the energy engine. You're hurting mitochondrial function just to lower a marker, which is just, it's metabolically backwards.
Okay, so when you put all this together, the food, the light, the exercise,
Yeah.
what are the two core pillars for the listener to take away?
It's simple. Always. Always think about your mitochondria first. They are the ultimate decider of your health. And second, always practice a food first, pharma last approach. Create metabolic abundance naturally, and your body will respond.
And to loop back to those gymnasts and pole vaulters gaining 8 years on their lives, what's the final provocative thought we should leave everyone with?
Stop reverse engineering longevity. Stop asking what you don't want to lose when you're 75. Instead, focus on achieving peak function right now.
Be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. If you're young, if you're middle-aged, take that actionable step. Try a new sport or skill every single year, not to master it, but to force yourself out of your comfort zone. If you take up boxing and you find you can't keep your balance or you get dizzy, that is your body telling you exactly what's declining and what needs urgent attention for the decades to come.
Fantastic. Understanding the mitochondria really is understanding the root of health. Apply these insights and you will find a path to a more energized, functional future. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.